Tallboys and Trackmasters is brought to you by Expert Exhaust. Expect more for your money. MTB Shock Dock, your choice for suspension needs. High Gear Success. From helping racers get sponsored to motorsports event operation and promotion, shift your passion into high gear. Miracle Works Detailing. No cars too dirty. And by Cycle Mart, your motorcycle parts store. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to our Heinz 57 Smorgasbord episode of Tallboys
and Trackmasters.
Yeah. What's going on, brother?
More vehicle maintenance I'd like to be doing, and less riding I'd like to be doing. But I did get out last week for about 6 hours. Did some gravel-oriented stuff. Got out and explored a little bit.
Yeah,
it's just nice to get out.
Dude, weather has been like primo this week.
It really has. Yeah, and I'm spending it rotting behind a desk. So
yeah, me too. Yeah, I feel you on the vehicle maintenance. I just had to completely rebuild the rear brakes on the old Jeep, so that was fun.
Yeah, I saw your post about that.
Yeah, so for those that didn't see that, what in the world is up with these auto parts manufacturers putting 4 inches of powder coat on the top of the brake pad pins now?
I don't know. I put an aftermarket set of pads on my Tacoma, I don't know, probably 30,000 miles ago. I had an issue where the powder coat was so thick in the slide pin holes, I actually had to take and drill them out.
Yeah.
So the slide pins would actually fit through it. So it's like everything else. The quality of aftermarket parts wasn't great pre-COVID, but now post-COVID, it's really just nosedived.
Maybe that's a question we should ask China.
China.
We're going to talk about China a little bit this evening too.
Yeah, we are.
So we appreciate everybody tuning in. This is going to be what it's called, a Heinz 57 Smorgasbord. There's not really a set topic. We're just going to touch on everything and anything and everything that we can think of. And to help us along with that, we have a wheel of topics that will be spinning here shortly.
The topic pinwheel of pride.
Yeah, the pride wheel.
Yep.
So we'll spin that, and whatever it lands on, we'll kind of go through and discuss. Would really appreciate everybody's questions. We'll post them up and try to answer anything that we can help you guys with this evening, or anything you want to talk about in general. It doesn't have to be motorcycles; it could be anything.
Anything but your feelings.
We gotta broaden our horizons out here on the show. Yeah. So I think tonight, let's start out and we'll go through some industry news first. That'll kind of get things kicked off here. So first up, CF Moto has released the first pictures of their MTX 800 adventure bike. So let's post up a picture of that here real quick. And I gotta say, it's kind of cool to see. Everybody's talking about the how the KTM 790 is mostly Chinese. Well, there you go. There's a full Chinese KTM 790.
That's the quintessential Chinese playbook. We'll cheaply manufacture these goods here for you. And they'll normally bake into their sales agreements or whatever, manufacturing agreements, but we get the plans.
Yeah.
And then they'll continue to build off that. And CF Moto has been on fire lately. Figuratively. For better or worse, they seem to be the most active and probably the most put together Chinese manufacturer right now.
Yeah.
Covey was a really solid contender, and then the kind of the lifeblood of their company, the CEO, stepped down, and there really hasn't been too much going on with that company since then. But it seems like CF Moto puts out a different bike every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, they just had their big press release of the IBEX 450, which
I'd
we talked
I'd
about.
like to try the Ibex if I had the opportunity.
Yeah, so all points sign or all signs point to that being a very successful bike. Lots of positive feedback. I think the only nitpick on that thing was the front brakes.
Yep.
But yeah, here we go again. You have CF Moto was the ones that was licensed through KTM to produce the 790 engine, um, and that comes with the caveat of them being able to produce their own version of it.
Yep.
So I think we've touched on it before that I think CF Moto is probably the has the best chance to be the most successful manufacturer in the Chinese segment. Just
I
simply,
agree.
you can drive around here in West Virginia. How many CF Moto dealers are there for side by sides or four
Yeah,
wheelers?
Fred and I come across guys in Fort Hill with CF Moto side by sides
Yeah,
not too long ago. I didn't even know they made side by
yeah,
sides. But the thing about CF Moto being the manufacturer for some KTM engines, you really kind of start to lose the ability to make the argument of, it's poor manufacturing practices, poor quality. You can dig back through the episode catalog when we first started talking about
yeah,
Chinese bikes. It's not that you can't make good precision machined engines and whatnot in China. It's just that most companies choose not to cut corners.
yeah.
But if you've got a manufacturer that's already making it for KTM of all brands, they stand a really good chance of getting something right.
Yeah.
Um, Hopefully they harden the cams a little bit better than they were doing for KTM.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, me and Trevor stumbled onto, as we usually do, some pretty funny Facebook groups.
Yep.
There's a group dedicated to the butterness of the KTM 790 cams.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're made out of leftover wax from candles in Chinese New Year, apparently.
yeah, hopefully they get
Uh,
that remedied.
you
So
know, you know, it's a big issue when people are making Facebook groups specific to
yeah,
one problem.
yeah, that's not a good sign. Um, but all in all, it's basically a Chinese KTM 790. The wheels look the same, the frame is the same, the engine's the same. The only big major difference was the gas tank, which I mean, there's a lot of 890 purists out there, but man, I just cannot get over how ugly the gas tank looks on those things.
I'm a function over form kind of guy, and even I have issues with accepting the state of the gas tank on
Yeah,
that bike. I get what they were going for.
right.
I don't know that I could have ever devised a way to
Yeah,
solve that problem better,
yeah,
but I'm waiting for the first manufacturer to make a skid plate that's also the gas tank.
yeah, yeah. It'd be like the remember that picture of the old XR 650 I showed you years back, where like
Yeah.
anything and everything was a gas tank on that thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a recipe for success. There, just make the skid plate out of gas.
Genius.
Next up, the next route in the backcountry discovery routes is released, and it is the Northern California BDR. This thing, they just released the video footage of it there, the first movie that they like to do. Really cool stuff, so definitely check it out. It's 940 miles total, all in Northern California through all the really cool mountain peaks. And they
Yeah.
said most of the route is above a mile or a mile above sea level the entire time. And the one cool thing with the Northern California BDR is it's so close to tying together the Washington and the Oregon
Yep.
routes, so you can kind of piece together a three-state tour, and kind of
Yeah.
expand your creations there. It's actually they said that the points are so close; they're closer together than what the MA BDR and the Northeast BDR
Nice.
are. So,
Add some stuff in Baja, and you can do like a whole West Coast tour.
man, that would be something, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, from Tijuana to Seattle, be a good time.
It'd be really exciting.
I'm sure there'd be some stuff in uh, Canada too to connect up into Alaska. They just do the whole entire Western Hemisphere there.
You let me know when you want to go kick stands up and try that out.
Got a new bike to try that. Oh man,
Yeah, I'm a little jealous, I'll admit.
got to pick up a an Africa Twin. Super excited to get that sucker out and do some two up stuff with the wife, and
Yeah,
also just general shredding that I like to do. So
very exciting.
we'll see how that works out. Uh, really excited to make this industry news segment announcement here because it hits close to home and it's a friend of the program. Chris Birch's "Say No to Slow" riding class is coming locally here into West Virginia. Chris Burke, Blackwater Adventure Rally. Chris Burke, friend of the program.
Yep.
His facilities down there at Camp Pioneer will be the base of the class. For those of you who are not really sure what we're talking about, make sure you look up Chris Birch. He's one of the
Yeah.
biggest hardcore cool dudes in the adventure bike
He
and dual
is
sport segment.
one of the single biggest names in the more hardcore side
Yeah.
of adventure riding, and one of the most capable and competent riders. I mean, you look at him and watch him whip a bike around some of that stuff, and you'd
It
think that bike only weighed like sub 300 pounds. It's genuinely amazing what he can do on one.
Yeah, so uh, in my research for a two-up bike, the KTM 1190 was on the radar, and you look on YouTube or of some 1190 content, and the first thing that popped up was Chris's, crazy, crazy riding that he was
Shredding.
doing. I mean, just absolutely treating that thing
Yep.
like a 200 cc bike. But yeah, they have classes on the 7th and 8th of September, and the 10th and 11th. The 7th and 8th are the more intermediate class, and the 10th and 11th are the more advanced class. You can check out his website at saynotoslow.nz. He's a Kiwi from New Zealand,
Yep.
so
He is.
those guys are always nuts over there, Australia, New Zealand.
They're different.
Yeah, different breed.
Yep.
So if you guys are looking to improve your skills a little bit and you got some dough to spend, it's something really cool to look forward to. I'm just cool. I think it's cool he's going to come to the Mountain State, and
Yeah.
hopefully Chris and maybe some other guys can get out and show him some riding around what we have to offer
Yep.
in our area.
I agree.
So
There is some pretty good stuff around that area of
for sure.
the state.
And last in the industry news tonight is you be the goose to my Maverick. There's Top Gun tech coming to riding here now.
Boy.
We have a company called can't remember what the name of it was there. It's bad. iLights, and they are offering an easy to integrate heads-up display piece that is adaptable to almost any helmet. Let you connect to your phone, or you can use their proprietary software, and you can have in one of your eyes a little box that has your GPS tracking stuff, weather, speed, a whole host of features. I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to watch movies while you ride down the road. Might be something you could do.
Watch on any Sunday while
Yeah, that'd
you're out riding.
be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's got some fighter jet technology coming to the everyday man. Now, this thing is expensive. It's about $500, but
I mean,
might be something cool to integrate into your riding.
if if it's viable and they can build on it, then it'll make stuff like rally towers almost obsolete.
I remember being a kid, and I think it was my dad had some kind of old Pontiac Bonneville, like SSEI, some special edition. And I remember it had like a heads up
Yeah.
display on the windshield.
There was
It
a
was always so
certain
weird.
some like somewhere around the 2000s, there was a generation of Corvette that had some
Yeah,
kind of projector like
right.
display. A guy I worked with was trying to get his to work, and parts were extremely expensive and whatnot. But I mean, it's an interesting concept, and it's a matter of time before like a goggle manufacturer comes out
Man,
with
that'd be cool.
something crazy.
Huh. That'd be yeah, why wouldn't you think about that? Just put in the goggle lens. Sure, we can do that.
But when you do
We need
that,
we need some funding. We can make this happen.
yeah, I got a degree in mechanical engineering and electronics.
Let's do it.
James is a millwright.
Yeah.
Something's feasible.
Yeah. Don't count on me.
I won't. Don't worry.
All right, that's going to do it for industry news this evening. So I think without further ado, buddy, let's offer up the wheel o topics tonight
Yeah,
and
the
see what we
wheel.
can come up with here. So
I don't
first
think that's an
spin.
Excel.
Yeah, it's probably not. First spin on the wheel of topics. Oh, this would be a good one here.
Culture of the hobby.
Culture of the hobby. So kind of talked a little bit about this throughout various episodes.
Yep.
But let's talk about what we see the culture of the hobby as today. Um, I'll I could say just from everything that I've seen, I think it's growing.
I think it is too. I think it's growing sustainably and
Yeah,
in the right direction, which is something you can't say for a lot of hobbies right now.
yeah. We have a lot of newer people that have joined FDSR or hit me up locally about getting out and wanting to do some riding. I see, like you said, it's encouraging to see a lot of younger people trying to take that next step of
Yep.
helping out in the club or just being a good steward of the sport in general. And we've talked about different events aging out and the unfortunate reality of that. But I'd say from everybody I've talked to, dual sport sales are up or at the same
Yeah.
level as they have been.
Middleweight adventure bikes. I
Huge
mean,
growing segment.
that whole segment's really
So,
taken off.
so I think that the overall culture of the hobby is in a really good spot right now. Lots of lots of events. There's more events in our area now.
Yep.
So I think that just in general, the overall feel is that it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yep. I agree. It's one of the few hobbies that's not becoming watered down. As well as I do, being somewhat involved in the off-road and Jeep community, things have really. I mean, I'll just come out and say it. The second they released the four-door Wrangler, it all went downhill. Now you got ducks on dashboards and Jeep meets in parking lots, and people just want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and drive around on gravel, and that's not the direction that dual sport and adventure riding, at least in this area, is taking. It's really an enthusiast um, oriented hobby. That's one of my favorite things about it is the lack of, I guess, posers.
Yeah.
You can go out and spend 15 grand on a new EXC and then another 5 grand plus on mods. But if you can't ride, it's extremely apparent really quickly. Whereas, and the Jeep scene at least, money will get you virtually, the whole way.
Yeah. Yeah, there has to be a element of rider skill to be
Absolutely.
able to progress. And even those type of people, I think that the dual sport world is more inclusive if you show that aptitude to want to learn, or you're a decent rider to start
Yep.
with. We've talked about it before. You never know who you're riding with as far as their work or their financial situation, what
Yep.
have you. That all kind of goes away as soon as you put the helmet on.
Yep.
And it is very refreshing to see that coming from the Jeep side of things, where it's like there's such a fine line between, all right, you're either a street guy doing car shows and that type of thing, or you're out absolutely beating on your stuff, and that line that's in between, that's not really defined.
Yep.
But as far as dual sports are concerned, yeah, it's very inclusive.
Well, like you said, being a skill-based hobby, um, once we're all out on dirt, we're brought a lot closer to the same level.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a great
so
point.
that's something that we've never discriminated against was bikes and whatever.
Yeah.
From T-dubs to Africa Twins, we've rode with all of them.
Got something for everybody.
Yep.
All right, let's go and spin the wheel of topics. See what the next one is going to be. Wish it had like the Price is Right prize wheel. What are we going to get? Oh, advice. So we're going to say that this is basically what is the best advice that you've ever been given as far as dual sport and riding goes, Trevor.
I've gotten a lot of good advice from you, Fred, Tom, etc. Probably one of the biggest piece of advice came from Cross Training Enduro's YouTube channel. Actually, was have confidence. It's visualize making it up, visualize getting across a river crossing, visualize yourself succeeding. You get into the train of self-doubt or whatever, and it'll manifest itself and it'll make you make mistakes.
Yeah.
The more you doubt yourself and everything. So, I mean, as far as technical stuff, I remember years and years ago, Fred told me, it's like, you're not riding fast enough on Creek Rock. I was like, I can't ride any faster across this stuff, man. And once I learned to just embrace kind of the chaos, the loose feeling, it
Yeah.
actually got so much easier. And that goes for pretty much all rough and choppy terrain.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just skate your tires across the peaks of everything and stay out of the valleys, things go a lot easier.
Yeah, that's such a huge help for people that are maybe struggling a little bit. Man, is mo the old momentum.
Yep.
Keeping that thing up to speed, where the suspension or the entire bike, your body doesn't
Yep.
have time to react to how rough something is, because
Yep.
the faster you're going over it. It's such a huge game changer as
That-
far as your riding.
That knowing when to keep the front end light and when to get weight on the front end.
Yeah. I like to. We kind of went over that on our training class that we put on a couple weeks back, where I hearkened it to pretend that there's two invisible lines at the end of your handlebars. Let that bike float
Yep.
that distance between those two lines before you start to really correct it.
Yes.
Because if you sit there and continually try to
Yeah.
fight the bike, you're
That
going to wear yourself out and
that
crash.
absolutely killed me when I first started, because that was, coming over from wheeling, from off-roading. Your line choice is everything. Um, just not micromanaging, where as long as the bike was going in the general direction I wanted it to, or at least now, as long as it's in the general direction, you know, it's good enough.
Yeah.
But then you start getting into rock gardens and stuff. You need to be a lot more careful with your path and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, any time that you can just conserve energy and let the bike do what it wants, especially if you're out for a long ride, a lot of rough trail and stuff, it's just a lot better to do it the way that you described.
Yeah. I think probably my favorite piece of advice I ever got was, when it comes to dual sport and adventure bikes, like take time to notice your surroundings. And it's so amazing the sights and the places that we go and the things that we see and are able to
Yeah.
do from the seat and from the handlebars, man. I've seen more of this state in its beauty on the bike than I ever have in my entire life doing anything else.
Yep.
So, that was a really resonating piece of advice to me, was just kind of slow down, smell the roses once in a while,
Yep.
and enjoy the moment, because, it can be taken away from you so quickly. And hopefully it never is, but, just being able to sit back and relax and not focus so much on, the route or going through something as fast as I possibly can,
Yep.
which I struggle with
Don't
sometimes.
ride like Dan Farnsworth.
Yeah. But that was one piece of advice that I really took
Yeah.
to heart, and I have enjoyed so far.
Another, I guess, my closing statement on advice that I kind of developed for myself is, I got into this for fun, right? I got into this hobby for fun. So anymore, I catch myself getting too serious about it, getting too hard on myself, especially riding with, more competent riders than I am, that have backgrounds in racing, or they've been riding for, decades longer than I have. I, it's supposed to be about having fun and enjoying yourself.
Right.
And I think, it's easy to lose sight of that sometimes, especially when you're trying to improve like your technical riding ability and all that stuff.
Yeah, we got a comment here real quick from Mr. Tom King, and he says to trust your equipment.
Yep.
That's a great piece of advice.
Trust your tires.
Yeah.
Trust your gear.
Yeah.
Trust your bike.
You'll go a lot further if you do that.
Yep.
All right. Next up on the wheelo topics. Let's see what comes up this time. Best trail fix. That was going to be the other one. I'll start with this one. And it wasn't one that I have seen personally, but it was one that I saw a video of, and it was super impressive. And I've always kept it in the back of my mind. Was these guys were riding somewhere out? It was Nevada or Utah. It was out in the desert. They were, miles and miles away from anything from their truck, and the guy had broken his throttle cable. And, I've seen that happen before, and you see guys trying to come out of the woods or anything, maybe they have it in their hand, they're trying to pull it and get going. Well, what these guys had done was they pulled the piece of the cable up and adjusted slack in it to where it wasn't revving the bike up. And they had taken a pair of vice grips and zip tied them
Yep.
to the throttle tube and pinched down on what was left of the cable. And the thing would sit there and act like the throttle was
Yep.
fixed. It was fine.
Funny you mentioned that. My buddy Andy Harris had a DR200. I think it was a DR200, DR250, one of the two. Exactly what you described happened, and he got the little pair of janky pliers
Yeah.
out of the supplied toolkit. That's how he got home.
Yeah, and these guys had rode that thing. I think it was like 17 or 18 miles
Yeah.
through some pretty rough stuff.
Yep.
To get back to their truck, and it worked flawlessly. The guy's like, "Yeah, I gotta definitely remember that one."
That's a new and improved domino throttle.
Yeah, what we call that? The channel lock 200 throttle system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ride, literal ride by wire, ride by vice.
That's funny. That's
I
funny.
I don't know, that one always sticks out to me, and I've always tried to keep it in the
Yeah.
back of my mind. I have seen, my dad broke, a lever off one time, and we didn't have another lever to put back on. I think it was his clutch lever. And what we ended up doing was taking the little hot start lever off my XR 650R and putting
Nice.
on. Now
Nice.
it's not real fun to pull that, but it's better than not having anything at all.
Yeah.
So that's something else that you can kind of put in your memory banks there. Anything that you can
Yeah,
think
there's
of other
there's
than
a
that?
lot of stuff that I've seen that other people have done as trail fixes that lives in my mind, waiting for the day that it's needed.
I just remembered a good one. So I don't know. I've been on this kick lately of watching YouTube guys from Australia,
Sure.
like riding and
Oh,
stuff.
they're exciting.
So cool. I would move there in a heartbeat to just be able to ride all the time.
Mm.
But I think the guy's channel it's a Riemann one.
Oh, I watch.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got some great
I
stuff
watch
on
that
there.
guy all the time.
So obviously, like I was saying before, I was doing some research about a two up bike. Stumbled on a bunch of KTM 1190 videos. So he was going to I think it was the 2017 or 2018 KTM like full rally, like
Yeah.
their big event that they put on in Australia. He was following this guy and he was riding, had like 200-ish miles from his house to get to the start of the rally. So he was taking some back road fun trails with this other guy on a 690 KTM. Um, and he got a flat rear tire. And neither one of them had a tube to put in. So you know what they did? This was very impressive. The 1190 obviously had way more power and torque than what the 690 had. So they took the tube out of the 690 and put in the 1190 because it was an 18 rear, and they stuffed the rear tire full of grass, like the sawgrass stuff and dirt, just as much crap as they could possibly find, and it made like the world's worst foam
Yeah.
insert. But it held together and got the guy out of there and back home. So I was going to keep that one in the top of the head as well.
Wow. That's that's a pretty crazy one. The wildest one to date, I'm sure, as my riding career progresses, I'll get more trail fixes under my belt. It was my buddy Arthur, our buddy Arthur, our best good buddy Arthur Punsack,
Poor guy.
and we were up near I think Albright, and there was a little rock ledge like stepped down with some loose gravel on it, and he hesitated and touched the front brake and pitched his bike over, and it landed just right on his Honda 250 that it put a rock right through the outlet for the water pump.
Oh,
And I mean, of course, it's hot, so the bike immediately starts just spewing coolant. And I always carry GB Weld, always.
yep.
Always carry Leatherman, always. And we took and filed all the paint and mold release and all that stuff off of it. It was a pretty. The chunk was still there, but it was bad enough that I wasn't, going to just leave it in place. So I needed something to patch with. Well, thanks to our brothers and side by sides, there's no shortage of Bush Light cans in virtually every single corner of this state. So I got a Bush Light can and took and made a little patch, then took the file on my Leatherman and filed all the paint and stuff off the Bush Light can, the liner off the other side, and daubed a little bit of um, JB Weld on it, and just completely covered the whole thing on the other side in JB Weld.
Yeah.
Not only did that get us back from Albright to Fairmont, and we continued to ride some trail and stuff that day, in classic Arthur fashion, he proceeds to run it like that for 2 months or something.
If it
You
ain't
know,
broke, don't fix it, bud.
hey, that was one of my favorite trail fixes. I suggest everybody carry, or at least one person out of every riding group carry like JB Weld or Pig Putty
Yeah.
or something like that. Steel stick. It is a lifesaver.
Yeah, I remember two things real quick. When I was down in uh, Logan, West Virginia, with me and Justin were doing the Bear Walla trails down there for Hatfield McCoy. Um, thought that the shifter splines had stripped on my shift fork. Well, before we figured out that the transmission was kind of foobar, but I'd actually taken a piece of beer can that was laying around and wrapped
Yep.
around the splines on the shifter to kind of give it some more stuff to grip. And secondly, I think it was the NEBDR movie that we watched a while back.
Hmm.
The one lady was on I think it was a BMW RS 1250, GS with a big horizontal motor, and had fell on a rock and busted a hole in the valve cover. Well,
Yep.
when you got a horizontal twin like that, the oil was laying in the lowest spot, so she was leaking out oil everywhere. They found a beer can and had JB welded on there for a hole fix. So
Yep.
yeah, don't discount using some aluminum beer cans to fix
I
whatever you
mean,
need
it
to.
it worked great.
Yep. Looks like my old man has commented too. Missing master link 20 miles from civilization, fixed with a keychain and gently rode out. I've seen that done too with tie wire or what have you
Yep.
to put a chain back together.
Yep. Speaking of tie wire, Harbor Freight has mechanics wire, just a little tiny roll of about the size of a 50-cent piece, probably like $1, $1.25. Go get a roll. Put
Yeah,
it in your tank bag, put it in your backpack, something. That stuff is absolute lifesaver when you need it.
great advice. All right, let's go to the real O topics. This will be a good one. Best bang for the buck mods. So I think a lot of people have very differing opinions on this. You know, my opinion, the best bang for the buck mods are ones that you can do for the least amount of money.
Agreed.
So if there is a very easy way for you to take weight off of your bike and get rid of some stuff that you don't need,
Yep.
I'm a fan of that. Anything that makes the bike more comfortable, in my opinion,
Yep.
is a great mod. So
A seat
seat concept seat, because let's face it, most seats suck on every dual sport or adventure motorcycle that's out there. However, I will say that the new Africa Twin I got, the seat is very comfortable on. I
Rub
don't
it
think I'll
in.
have to do anything on that one.
Rub it in.
But I think seat, um, tires. Most stock tires suck, so get you a Trackmaster.
Yes.
Um,
Except no substitutes.
yeah. I was looking the other day. I was like, I think I could do an advertisement for Kenda because my Jeep JK has the Cleaver MT2s on it.
Yeah.
I had Trackmasters on the KTM, brand new. The Africa Twin has the K270 tires on it, and my Versus, converted off-road bike has Kenda big blocks on it.
Yeah.
So I got nothing but Kendas in my house.
You're right, all right.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I would say anything that you can do to make the bike more comfortable,
Yep.
or if it's a cheaper mod to do, that's
Yep.
a no-brainer in my opinion.
So kind of in the same vein as seat, whatever can keep you on the bike longer is a good bang for your buck mod. That goes for protection like skid plates, case savers, um, hand guards. For me, full wrap hand guards are a must if you're going to ride woods. And I know everybody knows somebody's brother's cousins, whatever's whoever's has broke a wrist with full wraps. But I tried riding with flags for all of about 2 weeks, and I went back to full wraps.
I,
And they've saved so many broken fingers, and in my case personally. But on the topic of mods, you know, just bang for your buck, just put gas in it, ride it.
yeah,
I mean, that's and a lot of the pros will tell you to do that. Graham Jarvis has lamented that he puts on these well thought out courses and everything. Guys are always asking like, what's the secret? How do you have the suspension set up and blah blah blah. And he said, and they're always really disappointed when I tell them I pretty much don't even play with the clickers. I just ride it. You know.
yeah,
So there's guys that insist like, oh, I could have made it through there if I would have spent, however much on Race Tech gold valves,
yeah.
and which, yes, by all means, if you're talking like really crappy suspension versus
CRF 300L.
yes, by the KLX. If you're talking really crappy suspension versus like, you know, Eurobike offerings, which I know some people hate it, I personally really like it. But once you get to a certain point, you're just spending more money,
Yeah,
and suspension work's just not cheap for,
no.
and it's really not affordable enough to be in the picture for the average rider.
Yep. We talked about that before too. That you get to that point where you're spending so much money and you're modifying the bike to the point where you know it's still not good enough for you, and you spent way too much money on it.
Yep.
The resale value sucks because now it's so niche and defined that nobody else is going to want it, and all that money you spent could probably have been spent on a better machine to start with anyway.
Yep,
So
exactly.
you can definitely get carried away with it way
I'm
too
gonna
fast.
I'm gonna get up on my soapbox just for a second. Um, the number of guys I've seen take a CRF 300L and try to change it into something it was never meant to be, they could have taken that money and bought a KTM 500 EXCF. There's one guy on YouTube that's the worst out of anyone I've seen. His whole thing was like, "Well, I didn't buy a KTM because I wanted the reliability." And then he's doing big bore kits and hot cams with high lift duration and everything. It's like
I know exactly who you're talking.
uh, it's
Yeah,
his niche
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. But
Well,
like,
that's how he makes money, I guess.
there's I don't know. There's a lot of guys that fall down that rabbit hole. And then you come full circle to realize it wasn't the bike suspension. It was you that
Yeah,
just needed to get more seat time, get more experience as a rider.
right.
So,
There's Dad saying Trackmasters. I'd recommend that mod as well.
yeah, aftermarket tires, absolutely.
Greg Blakey, hey buddy, listen, I'm super excited to see you this Sunday, bud. I'm glad he's coming in to come ride with us on Memorial Day. He says training and a seat upgrade. Yeah. And training can be, whatever you want it to be, yourself or paying somebody to
Every
come and do it.
every time you get out on the trails, you should be learning something.
Yep.
Um, that's when you really start to stagnate as a rider. You just ride the same terrain, the same trails. You don't try to, well, if I try to whip it a little bit like this coming around this turn, how's it react? Like
Yeah,
stuff like that really builds your muscle memory.
for sure. Dad also says rim locks. That's a big one because a lot of bikes don't come stock with them.
Yeah.
And for the stuff that we do with lower tire pressures, you got to have rim lock. Tom King also says if you don't have a KTM, you probably need a bigger gas tank. Very true. All right, let's spin the wheel of topics for the third time. Let's see. We got the spinner again because we did that one already. I'm surprised that it hasn't happened already. I really want to talk about things.
Statistically, it makes sense.
Oh, on the gear. Thought we were gonna get wish list. All right, buddy. So gear. Is there anything new and exciting out that you can think about for gear? Be it riding gear or any kind of gear for your bike? Kind of drawing a blank a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of a blank. I'm a big Alpine Stars guy when it comes to boots. Um, I think boots and your helmet are two of the biggest quality of life things that you can spend money on. You see guys cheap out on boots, you end up with like really Frankenstein like almost spaceman boots that
Yeah.
have no flexibility, this, that, and the other. So I have Alpine Star Tech 7 Enduros. So you get like a lug sole, they're waterproof. Unless you're like me and consistently get an above the cuff of the boot. I don't they don't call me Aquaman because I'm afraid of the water, right?
Yeah.
But that's a really good offering. Leat, which is a really big name in protection and gear, as some pretty good offerings when it comes to boots too. Hydro Dry, I think the 5.5 Hydro Dry boots, something like that, are a really good option. A little
Mhm.
bit more affordable than Alpine Stores. Um, as far as helmets go, there's really hasn't been anything shaking up the industry since the introduction of MIPS,
Yeah.
the MIPS system. So I don't know if you can think of
Yeah.
anything.
So my biggest thing with gear would be, um, yeah, you don't have to be the guy that's out there, spending 2 grand on gear. Find what's comfortable for you,
Yeah,
um, and if it's comfy, if it offers whatever protection or ventilation that you need to ride with, that's my biggest thing. Just be comfy when you're out there
yeah,
riding. Like you said earlier, this is supposed to be a fun hobby. I don't want to be out there riding in a jacket that makes me overheat and sweat too
yeah,
much, or a helmet that rubs the back of my neck, what have
yeah.
you.
Or
Just
boots you can't shift in,
yeah,
or
just
that's something else too. Is I ran knee braces for probably a half riding season and went back to knee guards and just kind of lived with the, you know, you're riding with a little bit less protection. But my problem with knee braces was I even did the research and bought ones that were supposed to be, pretty comfortable and everything. Was I was always conscious that they were there, and they would on my Kawasaki and KTM, they would catch on the gas tank when I was trying to grip. And if you have gear that makes you uncomfortable, it will make you a worse rider.
Yeah.
Gloves, if you got gloves that put blisters on your hands,
Yeah, quit running.
Get rid of it. Be comfortable.
I'm a big fan now that I've switched to a modular helmet. I really love that for what we do as far as dual sport and adventure riding.
I'd really be interested in getting a Scorpion modular or similar.
That's what I bought the EXO.
Yep.
Wasn't that cheap? Still has MIPS, everything that you would need in it as far as safety is concerned, and not having to take your helmet off going into a store or a gas station or something. Be able to flip that up. It's really nice to be able to not have to deal with that.
Especially if you're bald, that'd be ideal.
I'm getting there. All right, let's spin the wheel of topics again here. See what else we can got. I think we've almost touched on everything on here so far. Maybe we'll spin this one and we get into one that we haven't done yet. Okay. This is one I've been waiting to pop up here.
All right.
Wish list features.
I'll start this one out, and this is something we both agree on. So I bought my little Trail 90 before Thanksgiving of last year. It's got the high-low gearbox on the side of it, and that is a feature that we have both stated multiple times. Man, how sweet would that be to have a set, like 1 to 6 gears, but you have a box that you can split between a final drive ratio for road or for trail.
I think that it would be a complete game changer for hardcore dual sports like we have, like a 350 KTM or a 500, where you could make it to where, it's great in the super tight technical stuff, but you're sitting there running along at 80, 85, 90 mile an hour at, 2,200 RPM, and just, it would make it, I don't think you'd need anything else if you had that.
That's one of the reasons that I stayed away from a DRZ 400 is most of the accounts that I'd seen and talking to some people that had them, you can either gear them for trail or you can gear them for road use.
Yeah.
But with a 5-speed gearbox, you're kind of limited as to how you want to split that difference between one or the other.
So I think I sent it to you, and I also was talking to my buddy Justin at work about this as well, and I will post this link up on the page as well. There was a guy who was some type of mechanical engineer at the University of Cincinnati, and for his senior thesis, he had devised a high and low speed hub assembly that would replace
like
the
a
rear
planetary
wheel.
gear set.
So it used Chevrolet 700R4 transmission planetary gear set parts. And it was cable operated, bless you. And basically, I think it gave a reduction of almost 2 to 1. I think it was.
Wow.
And he had full, CAD designs, had everything priced out. I think for everything that was involved, it was roughly $1,400, which really isn't that bad for what you're getting, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it was so cool when you read it, and then there was nothing else ever. Nothing said about if it was implemented. It was based on a DR650 was the bike that they were going to put it on, but it had so many opportunities, in my opinion, to be readily available for other bikes and it was just kind of sad to see that it never really came to fruition. But I will post that link. You can read the entire schematic, the thought process, and everything.
Please post that. I absolutely love weird tech. We'll do an episode on that at some point. I've got a lot of bookmarks of weird stuff through the years that was tried on bikes. But I think that would really just be a game changer. You could almost with a 2 to 1 reduction, you pretty much wouldn't have to get below third for most trail use.
Yeah.
And if you were in first, you're practically running a trials bike at that point in terms of torque.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I've seen some stuff, doing some research about that, where people are like, "Wow, that's why they made wide ratio 6-speed transmissions. You don't need that anymore." Well,
it ain't wide enough.
It ain't wide enough. I can tell you that.
Where's the 7th gear?
Yeah, my 500, I'm still looking for a higher gear.
Yeah, it's
but if I gear it up anymore, then first gear is way too high for any kind of really cool trail stuff.
Buddy, you're preaching to the choir when it comes to my 350. Yeah, 5th gear will be like 9-1 or whatever, and then 6 gears like 1.1-1. It's like what do we really gain?
Not much.
Not much.
Let's go through some more of these comments. Justin, what's up, buddy? He says FDSR stickers. That's a good mod you can put on your bike.
Yep.
Love it. Dad's going back to gear and Moto bibs, bibbed overall style riding gear for us larger frame gentlemen. I have seen a lot of people wearing those lately,
Yep.
and if you're a slightly bigger guy, yeah, that's probably a good comfy set of gear
Sure.
you can put on.
Bill, you give me a couple more years of beer and pizza, and I'll take you up on that.
Let's see. Our buddy Rob says DRZ 400 needs a dual range trans. There's a company in the UK that sells a wider range trans.
Rob, I am aware of that company in the UK, and that was something I considered when I was looking in DRZ 400. I found it on Expedition Portal or somewhere like that. There was a guy that was running a set of them that was doing like some big tour of Europe, and ultimately decided that the price tag combined with the price tag of a DRZ wasn't quite what I was looking for. But maybe that's an area electric bikes can shine. I know that you can get some pretty low yet very controlled speeds with a stepper motor. So I mean, I'm not a fan of electric bikes by any means, but maybe
I did crack up at the reel that you sent me on Instagram. It was like a Suron or something where the transmission was jacked up. It was in neutral. He said, "I didn't know electric bikes had a neutral." It was sitting there.
Yep.
That was pretty fun.
It's like that time your 500 developed a second neutral.
Oh yeah, yeah. It had it was stuck in third gear and had all kinds of neutrals. All right, is there anything else that we haven't touched on yet? The last one.
There's a couple of them.
So
but we'll let God figure out what the one last good topic is out of these.
I think we've almost done all of them except
we haven't done
advice.
memorable rides.
Yeah,
or we did
we
advice.
already did advice. So memorable ride. We'll just do that.
Yeah.
Most memorable ride you've ever done. What would you say?
Memorable in terms of overall experience, pretty much every ride that we've ever got together on a group, like our core group or whatever, like the Brandywine rides,
Yeah.
Coalfields, whatever. And it's not necessarily the terrain and the riding, it's just getting together with your buddies and having a good time that really sticks with you. But on a personal level, the most memorable ride for me was drowning my bike out at Kingsville and going through the trouble to take the gas tank off and taking the plug out and blowing water out of the cylinder, and then proceeding to ride that thing for about another 120 miles that day. And you're just being thankful that the oil never started looking milky. But I'll tell you what, I pulled that thing in the garage when I got home. That's the fastest oil change I've ever done in my life.
I actually did. It was like last Christmas or something. I seen somebody was doing this as well, and I decided to kind of copy it. But I did like my top 10 favorite rides, the 10 days of Christmas or whatever the hell it was. I gotta say, probably my most memorable favorite ride I ever did, and I've touched on this before, and it makes me sad to talk about it. Is the fact that it aged out. Was the Flint Ridge Dual Sport ride. That was probably my favorite ride that I've ever done, most memorable. To this day, that terrain and that trail layout was the best that I'd ever ridden. And there was a point where Nick Hall was leading, Fred was in second, and I was bringing up the rear. We were all on our KTM 500s, and that's to this day the funnest riding experience I've ever had in my life.
What's unfortunate about that is I think Shiloh and I got back from vacation with her family the night before you guys were leaving. We pulled in about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. You guys were leaving like 5 a.m. And I said, nah, I won't be well rested enough. I'll skip that. And I've regretted it ever since. So,
yeah, dude, it was
unfortunate.
Literally a chocolate snake ribbon through the trees is what I can describe it as. There was hardly any rocks or roots,
which
it was
is
just
absolute insanity to me. I can't envision. I've rode local terrain for so long. I can't envision a trail without rocks or roots.
Yeah, it was just absolute primo dirt. Great food, great group of dudes out riding around. It was insane to hit the trail, and you did like a 2 mile, single track section on the left hand side of the road. You went on the road for another 20 feet, and you hopped onto the right side of the road in the next farm. It was just crazy how they had that laid out, and
Nice.
yeah, I am glad that I'm sad that they're not doing it anymore, but I am glad that I was able to attend the last one that they did because it was so much fun.
I'm glad you got to experience that.
Yeah. All right, let's go through. Let's see, we got another comment for that there. Easy loop in a monsoon. Yeah. So it was year 3 that we did the FTSR
Yeah.
304 detour. Yeah, the poor easy loop guys got back right in the monsoon. So that was cool. Hey, speaking of the 304 detour, I'm gonna make a couple announcements here as far as FTSR is concerned for our club guys watching. Um, we have 31 spots left open at the 304 detour. So please don't delay. Don't be the guy at the last minute signing up. Got
Do
a
it
lot of
now.
yeah. Do it
Don't
now.
wait.
Got a lot of great stuff lined out. Gates will open Friday at 5. We'll probably be there around 3ish on Friday, I'd say. So show up a little early. It's not that big of a deal. Got plenty of spots for campers and tent camping. There's no hookups. It's primitive camping. We got the infamous hard loop on Saturday. It's going to be 100 miles long, and it's broken into 2 different 50-mile loops. And when you're done with the first loop, you'll come back for lunch. And if you've had enough,
I was going to say, come back for lunch or to chicken out and load up and go home.
If you're beat to death, it gives you the opportunity to eat lunch and leave at your leisure. And then we'll have the second loop after lunch, obviously. Got some entertainment planned for Saturday night. We're going to do a couple challenges, slow race, some other fun things with some prizes.
You guys are all losing the slow race.
Yeah.
At Trail 90 and and transfer case and low with first gear is slower than walking speed.
No dabs at the slow race.
Yeah.
And we'll have some other things planned as well. Probably going to have a movie playing Saturday night for everybody that wants to hang out and watch. Sunday morning, we're offering breakfast for everyone as well. Then you'll leave on the Easy Loop. I've got to run about 75% of the Easy Loop myself.
Nice.
It's a great time. It will be. Let me step back. The hard loop. Obviously, there's no GPX file for the hard loop. You'll be routed with arrows, roll charts. There's no reason that you should get lost on the hard loop. We go above and beyond routing that thing.
Up to and including sending guys out, right before everybody gets sent off to ensure all the arrows and stuff are still up.
Yeah.
So
Easy Loop, we are going to be putting out a GPX file this year, so you guys can, kind of go at your own pace. If you got some groups of guys you want to ride with, we will also have our, staff members that you guys can link up with and ride as well. And this year we're also offering some little harder spurs off the main Easy Loop trail if you want to crank the difficulty up a little bit on the Easy Loop, but it's going to be roughly 160, 170 miles, somewhere in there. I'm going to see some pretty awesome sights and scenery. And then, come back and hang out for a little bit and load up and go home. So make sure that you guys get on WebScore, get on FDSR, and sign up and fill out the last couple of spots we have left for the 304 Detour. 5th year. Excited about it.
Very excited.
Wanted to make an announcement for everyone else too. This coming Sunday is our annual Memorial Day ride for FDSR. If you are a listener of the program and you're looking for a localish ride for most of you guys to come and do, love to have you come out and do the Memorial Day ride with us. We have 2 separate groups, the mild and wild group, kind of like how we do the hard and easy loop for the easy or the 304 detour. I'll be leading the wild group. We'll be no more than 25 miles outside of Fairmont and hitting pretty much every hard trail that's around the area. I know that we originally said for the mild group that we were going to go through 5 points, but Tom King gave me a call earlier this evening and said that 5 points is pretty much impassable through right now with the amount of rain and mud and stuff they got. So probably going to go ahead towards Cameron that way. So you guys will still be heading west. Should be a good time for the mild group of guys. I think that's about it for the announcements that I have right now for FDSR. So make sure you sign up for the 304 Detour, and we'd love to have you guys come out this Sunday and ride the Memorial Day ride with us.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's get to a very awesome and extended version of everybody's favorite program, Had to Layer Down.
Did you run into some clippings? Did Barb take the kids? Well, Hoss, maybe you had to lay her down.
So we've got 3 or 4 different videos here that we'll play. This first one, not sure what in the heck this guy was thinking.
Matheson leaning forward, 0.10 light. She's an ugly ride so far. Gets it back on the line now.
Front wheel doesn't touch down.
Yep,
Oh, no, big problems
Give
for
it,
Chris
give it.
Matheson. Nasty.
Oh my goodness, off the bike and tumbling like a rag doll. He's up on his knees.
Wow. That is a
He didn't want
tough,
to have
tough
Layer Down.
racer.
Gave up.
That is
At least it
incredible.
was shaped in a way that made it really easy to roll.
There goes the shoe.
No, he dead. Oh, this one's terrible. I can't watch that
Consider this your sign to stock up
Oh,
on
of course
sign
you're gonna get an ad.
because right now at Vistaprint, all signs are 20% off.
As hard as concrete, and you crash on ice.
Yeah, but the angle and having everything just kind of flat up from underneath ain't terrible. It's not like one of those other guys that lost.
Now, that was a close call because those tires are spiked
Yes.
to hell and back. And
Yeah.
getting ran over by one of those would not be a good time.
Yeah, yeah. If we ever do that, I want you in front of me.
Appreciate that, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. See if we got any other comments here. No, I think that's about it. Anything else think of you want to go over, bud? Before we
I think
Hit
we
the
pretty
hay.
much touched on what I was hoping to touch on.
Cool.
So
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Hopefully, it was informative and you got a little entertainment out of it. I know I did. And we will catch you all, as always, next Tuesday for another episode of Tall Boys.
and Trackmasters.
You guys have a good night. We'll see you.
See ya.